Have you ever looked into a woman's eyes and felt something primordial staring back at you? Something that wasn't quite her, but seemed to work through her. Something that left you feeling consumed, drained, or even destroyed. You're not imagining things, and you're not alone. What if I told you that Carl Jung, one of history's greatest psychological minds, identified a specific feminine archetype so destructive to the male psyche that he explicitly warned men to recognize and avoid it at all costs? Today, you're about to discover the shadow feminine force that has likely already influenced your relationships without your knowledge, a force Jung called the terrible mother archetype. This isn't just another relationship video. This is about understanding the unconscious patterns that have been secretly controlling your emotional life. You see, the pain you felt in relationships, that inexplicable feeling of being emotionally devoured, manipulated, or left hollow, isn't random. It's archetypal. It's primordial. And until you understand it, you'll remain caught in its destructive cycle. Most men wander blindly into relationships, believing they're choosing women based on conscious preferences. But what if the truth is far more disturbing? What if something in your unconscious is actually choosing for you, repeatedly drawing you toward the very women who embody this brutal feminine archetype? By the end of this video, you'll understand how to recognize this pattern, why you've been unconsciously attracting it, and most importantly, how to integrate your own inner feminine to break free from this destructive cycle once and for all. Before we dive into the shadows, you need to understand how Jung viewed the feminine aspect of the psyche. Unlike Freud, who reduced much of human psychology to sexual drives, Jung saw archetypes, universal symbolic patterns existing in what he called the collective unconscious. You carry these patterns within you regardless of your gender. As a man, you possess feminine energy, the anima, just as women possess masculine energy, the animus. This isn't about gender stereotypes, it's about psychological wholeness. Jung identified several primary feminine archetypes that exist both in the collective unconscious and within individual women. The maiden, representing innocence, purity, and potential. The mother, embodying nurturing, protection, and abundance. The wise woman, symbolizing wisdom, intuition, and transformation. But alongside these positive expressions exist their shadows, the destructive aspects of feminine energy that emerge when these archetypes become distorted or unbalanced. And here's where your troubles begin. The archetype Jung warned about most severely is what he called the terrible mother, the shadow aspect of the nurturing mother. While the positive mother archetype gives life, nourishes, and supports growth, the terrible mother consumes, controls, and prevents individuation. You've encountered her. Perhaps she appeared as the emotionally manipulative partner who made you feel guilty for having any independence. Or the woman whose care felt more like suffocation. Or the lover who seemed to drain your very life force, leaving you empty and dependent. This archetype manifests in relationships when a woman, usually unconsciously, embodies traits like emotional consumption, taking your energy without reciprocating, engulfment, refusing to allow healthy boundaries, infantilization, treating you as a child rather than an equal, emotional manipulation, using guilt, shame, or fear to control, seduction followed by abandonment, drawing you in only to withdraw. But here's the critical insight you must understand. This isn't really about women at all. It's about you, the anima, your inner feminine. Jung believed that every man carries within him the anima, his inner feminine. When your relationship with your own anima is undeveloped or distorted, you project it outward, unconsciously seeking women who will embody it for you. This is why you keep finding yourself with women who display these destructive patterns. It's not bad luck. It's not even their fault. You are unconsciously drawn to them because they mirror your own unintegrated feminine aspects. When you haven't developed a healthy relationship with your inner feminine, you seek a mother figure in your romantic partners, but a partner cannot and should not be your mother. When you place this unconscious demand on a relationship, you activate the terrible mother archetype. Think about your past relationships. Did you find yourself becoming inexplicably dependent? Did you feel a strange comfort in the emotional chaos? Did you surrender your power in exchange for care or validation? These are all signs that you were seeking a mother, not a partner. And any woman placed in the role of mother to her partner will eventually manifest aspects of the terrible mother, not because she's malicious, but because the dynamic itself is fundamentally imbalanced and ultimately destructive to both parties. How this archetype manifests in everyday relationships. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. You meet someone who seems incredibly attentive to your needs. She takes care of details you normally overlook. She seems to understand you deeply, perhaps better than you understand yourself. It feels magical, like she can read your mind. Soon, you find yourself increasingly dependent on her emotional support and validation. What began as care slowly transforms into control. Her advice becomes demands, her attention becomes surveillance, her understanding becomes ammunition in arguments. You feel simultaneously trapped and afraid of losing her. You've surrendered your autonomy but can't imagine life without her. You've been consumed by the terrible mother archetype, or perhaps you're drawn to women who are emotionally unavailable. They seduce you with glimpses of affection, then withdraw, leaving you desperately seeking their approval. This too is the terrible mother, not nurturing through engulfment, but through abandonment. The pattern can even manifest in professional relationships, friendships, or family dynamics. Any relationship where you surrender your power and seek mothering instead of mutuality can activate this destructive archetype. The collective and historical dimensions. This isn't just personal psychology. These archetypes have shaped human culture for millennia. Look at mythology, Kali in Hindu tradition, who both creates and destroys. Consider the Greek tales of Medea, or the sirens who lured sailors to their deaths. These aren't merely stories. They're symbolic representations of the psychological reality Jung identified. Even modern popular culture is saturated with terrible mother figures, from the classic femme fatale of film noir to contemporary portrayals of emotionally manipulative partners in movies and television. These cultural patterns persist because they reflect something real in the human psyche. They're warnings, encoded in narrative, about the dangers of an unintegrated relationship with the feminine archetype. Now I'm going to reveal something that might shock you. Something that will completely transform how you understand your relationships. The brutal feminine archetype that has been causing you so much pain isn't actually coming from the women in your life. It's coming from within you. Every time you felt devoured, controlled, or emotionally manipulated by a woman, you weren't simply a victim of her behavior. You were experiencing the consequences of your own unintegrated anima, your own inner feminine, being projected outward and then reflected back to you. This is the profound truth Jung discovered. What you don't integrate, you project. And what you project, you attract. When you haven't developed a conscious relationship with your own feminine aspects, your emotional sensitivity, your need for connection, your intuitive understanding, these parts don't disappear. They go underground, into your shadow, where they operate autonomously and unconsciously. From this shadow realm, your unintegrated anima seeks expression through projection. You are unconsciously drawn to women who embody these disowned parts of yourself. You then form relationships where these women express the feminine energy you've rejected within yourself. This is why the pattern repeats. This is why you keep finding yourself with women who seem to activate the same emotional wounds. You're caught in what Jung called unconscious projection, seeing outside what actually exists within. The most devastating revelation is this. Every man who seeks a mother in the body of a lover will inevitably find a devourer. Let that sink in. When you approach relationships from a place of emotional immaturity, seeking someone to take care of you, to complete you, to give your life meaning and purpose, you're not seeking a partner. You're seeking a mother. And no romantic partner can or should fulfill that role. The moment you cast a woman in the role of your mother, you activate the terrible mother archetype. What begins as nurturing inevitably becomes consuming, because the dynamic itself is fundamentally regressive. It keeps you in a perpetual state of emotional childhood, preventing the very individuation and growth your psyche actually needs. This is why Jung warned men so severely about this pattern. It's not just emotionally painful, it's soul-destroying. It prevents you from becoming who you're meant to be. It traps both you and your partners in archetypal roles that ultimately bring suffering to everyone involved. And here's the most difficult truth to accept. You've been complicit in your own emotional destruction by refusing to integrate your anima, by projecting your need for mothering onto your partners. You've unconsciously co-created these devastating patterns. But in this painful realization lies your freedom. Because once you understand that the problem isn't out there but within you, you gain the power to change it. Now that you've glimpsed the true nature of this brutal feminine archetype that Jung warned about, you stand at a crossroads. You can continue as you have been, unconsciously projecting your unintegrated anima onto the women in your life and suffering the consequences. Or you can begin the courageous work of psychological integration that Jung prescribed. This work isn't easy, but it's the only path to freedom from these destructive patterns. It requires honest self-reflection, willingness to face your shadow, and courage to reclaim the feminine aspects of your psyche you've been disowning. Start by examining your relationship patterns. Look for the recurring emotional dynamics that leave you feeling depleted, controlled, or consumed. These aren't coincidences. They're signposts pointing to your unintegrated anima. Ask yourself these difficult questions. In what ways have you been seeking a mother rather than a partner? Where have you surrendered your power in exchange for care? How have you contributed to the very dynamics that cause you pain? The integration of your anima doesn't mean becoming more stereotypically feminine. It means developing a conscious relationship with qualities like emotional intelligence, intuition, receptivity, and relatedness that Jung associated with the feminine principle. These aren't women's qualities, they're human qualities that men have traditionally been taught to repress. As you integrate these aspects of yourself, something remarkable happens. You stop projecting your need for mothering onto your partners. You become capable of true intimacy, not the pseudo-intimacy of dependency, but the genuine connection that comes from wholeness, meeting wholeness. You'll find yourself attracted to different women, not those who activate your wounds, but those who mirror your integrated self. The destructive cycle breaks. The terrible mother archetype loses its power over you. This is the transformation Jung believed was possible. Not avoiding women, but avoiding the unconscious complexes you've been projecting onto women. Not fearing the feminine, but integrating it within yourself. Your journey toward this integration won't be completed by watching a single video. It's the work of a lifetime. But now you've taken the first and most crucial step, becoming conscious of what was previously unconscious. If this video has resonated with you, if you've recognized these patterns in your own life, I invite you to share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might help another man recognize his own unconscious projections. Like this video if it's opened your eyes to something you hadn't seen before. Subscribe to continue this journey of psychological understanding with me. And don't miss our previous videos exploring other aspects of Jungian psychology and relationships. Remember, the brutal feminine archetype Jung warned about isn't your enemy. It's a messenger from your own psyche, pointing you toward the integration and wholeness you were born to achieve. The question is, are you ready to heed the message? Thank you for joining me in this exploration of one of Jung's most profound insights. Until next time, may your journey toward wholeness be courageous and transformative.